Oklahoma State's head football coach Mike Gundy spoke to reporters about the national and state response to the coronavirus pandemic and provided his timeline for when he and his team could return to the football facility.
With our staff, my goal is May 1st. I'm hoping that we have enough tests that are readily available. I'm reading every day where we're mass producing tests, and I'm thinking in 3 or 4 weeks we could have the test ready available for people that aren't sick. How fast that can happen based on the tests that are available, I can't say right now, but that's the plan, okay? We have to have a plan.
That's his plan. It may not be his school's plan. Oklahoma State University released a statement in response to that, saying, "We will adhere to the advice of public health experts who are making informed decisions in the best interest of the citizens of our nation and state based on sound scientific data. We will also abide by the federal and state mandates as well as Big 12 guidelines." So we seem to have a disagreement as we continue to look. We will not compromise the health and well-being of our campus community. This virus is deadly, and we will do our part at Oklahoma State to help blunt the spread. So as I bring Laura Rutledge into the conversation here, good morning, Laura. We have a disagreement now between the coach and his school, which just, I think, in some ways illustrates just how much confusion exists out there. And so we were talking yesterday, and you have, I know, talked to a lot of people, conference commissioners, coaches, all of them thinking about timelines for return. Take us through some of what you're hearing.
Well, yeah, Greeny, I think, first of all, the most important piece in all of this is that there is optimism around it. It's definitely complicated, but there's optimism because they have time. And really the timeline that we're looking at here is toward the end of May, early June. All of these conferences that have shut down operations right now are going to reconvene, and they're going to assess the situation around the country, just like all of us are doing. They're going to see how things look at that point. So we're really talking about early June. That buys them a lot of time up until that point. Now then, once they have a timeline, a plan there, they're targeting mid-July for a hopeful return for their players and some semblance of athletic activity getting ready for the season. Look, who knows if this is possible, Greeny, but if they are able to get players back on campus by mid-July, a lot of these conference commissioners, a lot of coaches, they feel like that would allow for a start of the season at least relatively on time, maybe even on time. That's what the timeline really looks like for a lot of these schools around the country.
So that would be, we'd be looking at roughly 6 weeks there between when they would have the players back and when the first games would be played. Now, that's a fascinating one. The other piece of this, and you and I talked about this yesterday, we didn't have time to get into it as much as I would have liked, is the idea of the players playing in stadiums without fans. We've heard that a lot on the pro level. On the college level, there seem to be a variety of different thoughts on this. I wanted to play Mack Brown, his thoughts on this, the coach at North Carolina, yesterday on the notion of college football being played without fans in the stands.
Paul, I don't think we can have football without fans. I mean, I can't even fathom it. So that's not even something that I think about or talk about. If it's not safe for fans, it's not safe for players. They're going to be right next to each other. I mean, they're going to be hitting each other in the mouth and breathing on each other for 3.5, 4 hours.
That, I think, was fascinating. Yesterday, as you and I were talking, I got the sense that you were hearing from some people that perhaps they would sooner not play at all than play college football without fans in the stands. Is that an accurate read?
Absolutely. And I think you just heard it alluded to there by Mack Brown. The seeming split for me, Greeny, and the people that I've talked to is that the coaches and maybe even the players, they're the ones that really can't imagine games without fans. Nobody wants it. Obviously, we want the atmosphere around college football that's so special. You see it on your screen right now. Can you imagine watching a game without these incredible fans and environments? But here's the thing. The athletic directors, the conference commissioners, that world, they're saying, well, wait a second. If we could still play football, if we could have a season, however it may look, even if it doesn't include fans, but we still have a season, that may still be the best option. The good thing for them is that right now, they don't have to make these decisions. We are about 3 months, maybe even longer than that, away from really having to say hard and fast, this is what we're doing. It's a lot different from what we saw happening right around the NCAA tournament and conference tournaments in basketball. Remember, that was like one day they were playing and then the next day weren't. This buys a lot more time and a lot more knowledge is available for what these conferences can do at this point. But you're absolutely right that there are many that say, we'd rather not even play if it's playing without fans.
It's an important point you're making there, because the other thing that happened with the NCAA tournament that looked terrible was that there wasn't one uniform decision, right? So one conference was playing, the other wasn't. One team actually played half a game and then stopped. Do you think there will be a uniformity in this somehow?
There should be, and there's a lot of communication about that. Look, these conferences are communicating throughout the day on conference calls and video chats. They're communicating with the NCAA. Those dialogues will continue to go on, and they'd love to see a uniform decision. But even right now, you're seeing some conferences, the Big 12, the SEC, the Pac-12, they've shut down until May 31st. The ACC is shut down indefinitely. So there's a little bit of difference already. These bodies can govern themselves. One thing that I thought of, Greeny, let's say, God forbid, and this is all hypothetical, but we're at a point where it's regional and some of these regions are in a better position to play. Could we even see some conferences just decide to play themselves and have their own season? That could potentially happen because they are in control of what that looks like. None of that's being talked about right now as an actual reality, but it is out there as a possibility if they can't come to some sort of uniform agreement.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.